Welcome, writers, readers, and friends to the Authors Talking Bookish podcast. I'm Donna Norman Carbone, author of All That Is Sacred.
And I'm Hope Gibbs, author of Where the Grass Grows Blue.
We're two debut writers traditionally published by a small publishing house, bringing to you all the experiences that we as authors learn the hard way, so you don't have to.
We'll give you insights from the inception of a book idea to publication and beyond. And along the way, we'll share our love of books from the writer's perspective.
Welcome, friends. This is episode 67, and we are delighted to interview an author, Sue Williams Silverman, who is a memoirist, and we are going to talk to her about writing and her writing process and what else she does in the writing world. I'm Donna Carbone, and I'm joined by Hope Gibbs. Hi, Hope.
Hello, Donna. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. You know, we're almost through March. Spring is kind of here, and just so excited to be interviewing this author, because one of my favorite things with Authors Talking Bookish is the opportunity to get to speak to writers and authors, and I am so excited about this one.
Yes, we have not had a guest on to date who has written a memoir, and I love memoir as a genre.
Yes, you do. And I just finished one not long ago. It was a Gavin Newsom memoir. So I'm so excited about talking to this author. So let's just bring her on.
Okay.
Hello, Sue.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Sue.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really nice to meet you.
Yeah, we're excited to talk to you about your collection of essays. And I would like to read your bio to our audience, and then we'll get started.
Sounds perfect.
Okay. Sue Williams Silverman is the award-winning author of 5 books of creative nonfiction, including her latest, Selected Misdemeanors, which has been longlisted for the 2026 Penn Diamonstein Spielvogel Award for the Art of the Essay, 2 craft books on writing, and 3 poetry collections. Her memoir, Lovesick: One Woman's Journey Through Sexual Addiction, was also made into a Lifetime TV original movie. As a professional speaker and writer, Sue has appeared on many nationally syndicated radio and television programs, including The View and Anderson Cooper 360 on CNN. She is the co-chair of the MFA in Writing program at Vermont College of Fine Arts. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is quite a list of accolades that you have.
Well, thank you. I've been working very hard, so it piles up over the years.
Yeah, I know. That's wonderful.
Well, I would love to get an overview for those who have not gotten to read, as I said earlier, Selected Misdemeanors. It's a collection of flash essays. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, there's 71 flash essays, and what flash means is basically just short.
Yes.
So it's a collection of 71 rather short essays. Yes.
Well, could you give us the inspiration? And first off, I have to say I've got the cover up. But for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, I absolutely love this cover. And you've gotten incredible reviews. I love this one. A master essayist, Sue Williams Silverman, harnesses all of her disposable poetry, photographs, film, and most of all, her luminous and lyrical prose. Talk to us about this book.
Sure. What I sort of came to realize, so had already written 2 full-length long memoirs, and also 2 books that are sort of memoir and essay form. And after writing those, first of all, I needed a new challenge. I wanted to try something different. And what I realized is that, when we first tend to think about writing, we think about the big moments of our lives, these big, dramatic things that have happened, or even sort of semi-dramatic, but, illness, love, marriage, divorce, addiction. But then I thought about what about all these smaller moments in our lives, which really take up the majority of our lives? And those seem to sort of get lost in some ways when we're focusing on these big life events. And I thought, oh, I really want to focus on those because they're really very important. And so that's what I did. So it's selected misdemeanors, and just to put you at ease, I've not served jail time, and it's not about being arrested or anything like that. But the misdemeanors that I'm writing about are really more sort of emotional misdemeanors, things, some bad choices that we make. For me, it's been mainly, okay, dangerous man. I mean, emotionally dangerous, stuff like that. And just making some bad choices, bad decisions. And, but they're really all focused on these just smaller moments, between like big divorces or marriages and stuff like that.
That sounds fascinating. I know because I've written a collection of poetry, that when you assemble a collection like that, a lot of thought goes into which one comes first, which one comes second. Did you arrange this thematically or it chronologically? What were your thoughts when you were deciding how you were going to
Right.
present it?
Really not chronologically. I find it's more interesting to do it sort of thematically. So,
Mhm.
for example, one section is called "How to." So it's sort of like, one of the essays is sort of how to survive your first moments in a rehab setting, and or how does, what happens when some guy breaks up with you, what are the first steps you take, so sort of like how to. And then there's another section called grieflets, and I put the LETS because they're sort of small grieflets, because again, I'm looking at
Mhm.
small moments, that so the essays are short, but also, of course, they have to be revelatory. I mean, they're
Mm.
not like just an anecdote, like this happened to me. That's really not creative nonfiction. So the each essay is in itself, it's a little tiny thing.
Mm.
Well, some are paragraphs, some are maybe 6 pages, so within
Mm.
that range. But yeah, I think it's much more interesting really to arrange either a poetry collection or an essay collection thematically, so that a reader can sort of get have more of a focus on what you're really writing about.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
you
fascinating.
explore these pivotal moments in your life, and throughout these essays, was there was there a really hard moment, like a hard essay to write, and which was it, and what was the easiest one?
So the hardest one, it's called the silence detector. And I had a girlfriend when I was in high school, and she really fascinated me. I mean, for one thing, she tried to steal my boyfriend, and but yet I sort of drawn to her. She had a lot of charisma, and she did become a professional singer, and but she wasn't trustworthy. And I hadn't thought about her in years, and I really wanted to go back and look at what was it? Why did I want to be friends with somebody who, I mean, she didn't just steal my boyfriend. She was like stealing everybody's boyfriends. I mean, she was just like on the make. And, but yet there was something that sort of drew me to her. There's sort of a glamour and this kind of polish. And as it turns out, though, what it was that her family was very dysfunctional, very
Mm.
emotionally unhealthy and physically unhealthy. And so I realized that because I grew up in an unsafe family as well, that so it was really looking at that underlying, that we really did have something in common. That
Mm.
regardless of her overt actions, we really were both very wounded. And so to
Mm.
have to look at that was difficult and sad. And then, of course, now with the internet, um, I Googled her and she had passed away, which was also very sad.
Mm.
So that I would say was the toughest one to write. The easiest one to write, just because maybe the subject matter isn't is as dark, is so all of these essays, yes, they're short and they're flash and all of that, but they're also each sort of revolves around an obsession. I'm a very
Mhm.
obsessive person. And so and my obsessions are all over the place. So one is that I have this obsession with this liqueur called creme de menthe. and
Mhm.
it's emerald green. And my parents, I used to have these sort of fancy parties, and they would serve it. And I was absolutely obsessed with the color. I mean, to this day, I've actually maybe just barely tasted it. But it's just the color, this emerald green color that I just
Mhm.
thought was gorgeous. So I wrote this little essay about this obsession with creme de menthe, which was really to learn about kind of the ephemeralness of beauty and
Mm.
and sort of the small things that can bring us joy, like this color. And that was just sort of fun to write.
Yeah, it was interesting that you said the silence detector because I read on Goodreads, and you've got beautiful reviews. You've got great reviews there, but that Goodread reviewer specifically said that that essay was the one that stuck with her, and
Mm.
a silence that never stops burning. I don't want to give too much away, but she wrote that in quotes, which I'm pretty sure that is attributed to you,
Yes.
because that was the essay that hit her the hardest.
That is so interesting. And it's also interesting because I think it was the very last essay that I wrote for the book. I mean, I think I was almost sort of finished with the book. And then all of a sudden I remembered, oh, Terry, this friend I had, she had such an impact on me. But it's strange how that can be like, because it sort of in some ways pulled the whole collection together. And it was the last one I wrote. I mean, it's all sort of magical and mysterious how these things come together.
Yeah. Very connectable topics too. I'm curious because you've written poetry. How do you decide whether something is a poem or it needs to be told in prose?
So here's again talking about magic and mystery. I
Mm.
don't decide. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like my brain is not part of it. It's just
Mm.
this is how it comes out. Like it tells me. So it's
Mhm.
really a matter of listening very carefully to what your words are telling you, sort of like following a whisper.
Mm.
And if something needs to be a poem, it just comes out as a poem. So it's not like I'm not using my brain to make that decision. I mean, I suppose the brain is in there somewhere,
Yeah.
but it doesn't feel that way. It's more like coming sort of from your heart, like
Mm.
this is just going to be a poem. And with each poetry collection, I wrote them all in a piece. So
Mhm.
like the most recent one is If the Girl Never Learns. And they're very thematically congruent. Is this
Mhm.
called The Girl, which is sort of thinly disguised me, and just making a sort of like I like these things happen, I don't learn from them, and I keep making the same mistakes over and
Mm.
over. And those just they all came out sort of in a rush.
That's very neat. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, you've written other books. You've written the Lovesick, which I really want to talk to you about that one as well, because that was adapted into a Lifetime movie. And can you talk about your experience with that? Because obviously that's a very personal book, and for it to be have an adaptation.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it was just a shock. I mean, honestly, one night I'm sitting here in my house and this woman calls. She said she's this independent producer in Hollywood. She'd been at like, I think it was the Beverly Hills Public Library and found my book, Lovesick. And had I optioned the movie or sold the rights to it? And I said no. She said, okay, great. I want to buy it. I said, okay, I mean,
Wow.
and then, I put her in touch with my agent. So it came out of completely left field. And,
Mm.
but it was an amazing experience. I mean, I loved the experience. And of course, it's very different from the book. I mean, the
Mhm.
movies just are, but, um, but it doesn't take away from the book. It really just adds to the book. And I think they did a beautiful job with it. I think it's available on Amazon Prime called Lovesick, and they just did and it was very moving, and to see Sally Pressman plays me, and we
Mhm.
don't really look alike, but watching her, it's like I could feel myself. It
Mm.
was so strange. It's like,
Wow.
yes, like she got me, of course she'd
Mm.
read the book and everything, and I'd spent some time on this set, but she just like I saw her, and it's not like I saw myself so much, but I felt myself. So it was a beautiful experience, and everybody affiliated with movie, everybody was so nice to me and just saying, we really want, to do a good job. We don't want to mess this up. We really want you to feel proud of it. And I was. I mean, I loved it. And it was also nice as well because it sort of brought the book to a whole new audience, which is always great. So yeah, so I think that the book maybe focuses a little bit more on the recovery part, and the movie focuses a little bit more on the addiction part. But it's a really good companion to each other.
Wow, that is so neat. What an amazing experience.
It
Especially
is.
because it's you, because it's you're the character.
I know. I mean, it's surreal. I mean, it's
Yeah.
completely surreal to see somebody and like another actor saying, "Hey, Sue," and Sally Pressman, the actor, said, "Yes." And I say, "Wait, I'm sitting here in my house." I mean, it's
Yeah.
complete. It's like an out of body experience, but very positive.
Yeah. How difficult is it to sell memoir?
I People keep saying it's difficult, and I have not had any problem. And I think it's just, there are these rumors that sort of fly around the publishing industry, like, oh, novels aren't selling now, and
Right.
memoirs not, but they are. I mean, everybody's reading them, everybody's talking about them. You
Yeah.
look in a bookstore, they're all over the place. So I just do not pay attention to that at all. If you have a book that you want to write, whether it's novel or a memoir, just write it, and you'll find a home for it.
That is
There's
such
so many.
important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so many publishers, and you don't have to just look at the big five in New York City. There are tons of them. My last few books have been published with the University of Nebraska Press, which has this American Live series, which is a wonderful series. So there are all sorts of places to publish.
Yeah.
That's great advice.
Well, I like to switch gears a little bit and talk about you as a writer. Could you share a little bit of your writing process with us? Because I'm always fascinated, because some people they have strict rules. They are very schedule oriented, or some people just kind of like me, whenever the moment hits. What is your writing process?
So before I got published and nobody cared to talk to me about anything, and I had lots of time to write, I had a very strict process. I would get up in the morning and I would just write first thing, and I just would go sort of full tilt, maybe about 5 hours or so. Once I started publishing, and now that I'm also teaching and I'm program co-chair my department, I wake up every morning, I know there are going to be like 30 emails for me to answer. And so depending, I mean, that is my go-to position is still don't check emails first thing. Try and get at least 2 hours in a day. And so I don't write as much as I used to. I just don't have the time because I am teaching and running this program. At the same time, I love, love, love to teach. I really do. And I even love doing some administrative work for the program. And so, it's kind of a nice balance. So yeah, times when I'm not completely, working with teaching, I'll try to write. But the key is like to try to do it first thing in the morning, before the world is too much with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I am a teacher too. So
Oh,
I
nice.
get your passion for teaching. I actually have a question about your teaching. How does it influence your writing? And how does your writing influence your teaching?
Well, I'm certainly a better teacher, having written a lot, particularly about sort of women's issues. I would say most of my students happen to be women. And so, it's sort of embarrassing a little bit to say this, but my students do see me sort of as a role model. It's sort of like, okay, Sue wrote about these really difficult subjects, so I can sort of offer my courage to my students. And then of course, just craft wise, that helps a lot because I've written some craft books, so I just learning how to condense craft in a way that's very approachable, so that's very like, you can do this, I mean, just very clear. So I've learned how to teach in a very straightforward way. But then what I get from teaching is that as I share my courage, really my students share theirs as well, because
Mhm.
here it's an MFA in writing program. They
Mhm.
had the courage to apply to this program. They're sitting there, they're sharing their work. And so just like these bonds are formed. And so it's really this sort of symbiotic relationship that really is very important to me, so that I think that my students do get a lot from me, but I get a lot from them too. It's just
Mhm.
these relationships that are so important.
Yeah, very rewarding work.
It is. It
Mm.
really is.
Well, Sue, one of the reasons that Donna and I started this podcast a few years ago is we were debut authors, and we used to joke because we debuted within a month of each other, and so we're at the same publisher, and she would tell me, it's like, okay, this is coming down the way, you got to start working on this. But we started joking that we learned all the things the hard way. And so that's the reason we started this podcast, is all the things that we learned the hard way that you don't have to. And so when I was doing a dive on you, I stumbled across an interview, and you said something that really struck with me, that before publication, when people asked what I did, I was a writer, and they would all wanted to know what I had published. And you said nothing. And they would give me a puzzled look. And then to them, I wasn't a real writer. And I know that some people out there that are writing, maybe they haven't been published. What would you like to say to them on that? And then I would like to ask you, what's one thing you learned the hard way?
You are right. I mean, if you are writing, you're a writer, and the publication is sort of two separate things. There's writing, and then there's the business of writing.
Mhm.
And just know that if you have stories to tell and you're writing them, that's it. You're a writer. You can call yourself a writer. And if people give you funny looks, it's just that's their problem. We have to see ourselves, how we do, however we want to see ourselves. And if I just always felt like a writer, once I did start writing. And one of the hardest things I learned is that you have to really you have to sort of filter the feedback that you get. I mean, particularly when around lovesick, we talked about that. That book is about 28 days I spent in rehab for a sex addiction. So I was on a lot of not your kind of podcasts, but talk radio with shock jocks. And they asked me such inappropriate questions. It was just like, they asked me this on a live radio show. I was just shocked. And afterwards, it was just so exhausting. I thought, oh God, I'm never going to write again. But you have to really, first of all, sort of kind of be careful about who you agree to talk to. And if there is somebody who's going to disparage you, you don't have to say yes to the podcast. I think things are a lot easier now. But also just to know that, people ask me inappropriate questions. I could have said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to answer that. And I didn't have the courage to say that then. I thought if somebody asked me a question, I was obligated to answer it.
Yeah.
And I'm not. So I think it's not so much about the writing. It's really about how the world sees you afterwards. That, when you start engaging with the world, how to sort of take care of yourself.
That's great advice.
That's very good advice. And that's good advice for anyone.
Yeah. I have one last question for you before we get to our rapid fire questions. Are you working on something now? And if so, can you share a snippet of it?
I just started something new, and it's pretty much in the moment right now. And it's kind of how I'm trying to find myself in the midst of some really difficult things that I've sort of observed in the world from COVID sort of on. It's sort of the place of the person, the narrator, which would be me, in a more political arena, and particularly around women's issues and how women can sort of navigate their
Mm.
way through very difficult sort of external things that are that I just see rampant right now of
Mm.
women sort of losing agency over ourselves, our bodies. So, but I barely maybe written 2 pages. So I know it's going to end up someplace else, but that's what I know right now.
It sounds
Wow.
incredible. I can't wait.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
amazing. And I think very important. That's something
Very
I
much so.
grapple with as well. And I look forward to you putting that out in the world.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Sue, we started doing this a few episodes ago, so we get to know our authors a little bit on a personal level. It's called Rapid Fire. It's very easy, we promise.
Okay. Yeah.
So here we
I
go, the rapid fire questions. So our first one, this one, we're going to go in easy. The first one, do you prefer coffee or tea while writing or something else?
Smart water, or actually
Oh,
water that has electrolytes in it. That's all I drink is water with electrolytes.
Nice, nice,
nice.
nice. I like that.
Okay, question 2. Can you name one author who inspired your writing?
Yes, Jean Reese, Rhys.
Okay.
She's the author of Wide Sargasso Sea. She's uh, been dead, I mean, a long time. She's really was more popular around in the 60s.
Mhm.
But she really did tackle kind of this idea of women's agency and how women can be sort of destroyed by dangerous men. So she had a
Mhm.
big influence on me. So that's Jean, and her last name is Rhys, Jean Reese.
We need to put
Okay.
that in our show notes because we always
Yeah.
do show notes and we need to put that in our show notes because I would like to look that one up. Okay. Do you snack while you write? And if so, what do you snack on?
I never snack.
Really?
Really?
I
Wow.
don't.
Very impressive. Okay.
Okay, name a book that changed your perspective. You may have answered that.
Well, but another one I would mention would be The Lover by
Mhm.
Marguerite Duras, Duras. It's a autobiographical novel. I mean, it's
Mhm.
based on, and again, it's about women living in a male-dominated patriarchal society and
Mhm.
how you survive that. Those 2 books really influenced me a lot when I first started writing.
Okay. That's
I'm gonna
another one
add
we're
those
going
to
to
the
add.
show notes for
Yes,
our
we are.
audience.
Um, do you have a distraction? What's your favorite distraction from writing?
Really, uh, kind of loopy series like on Netflix. I mean, things that just I don't have to think.
Yes.
So, but also, I really like true crime. I'm
Mhm.
fascinated by these true crime series that are on. I think they're streaming everywhere.
Yes.
So, yeah, I am kind of fascinated by them. I
Mm.
mean, it's sort of grim, I know, but they just draw me in.
Okay, Donna.
Okay, do you prefer writing in silence or with some kind of music or
Complete
sound?
silence, complete
Silence.
silence. If there's any noise outside, I have a white noise machine to block it out.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And finally, do you have a dream vacation spot that inspires you?
So I am the world's most boring person. I don't take vacations, and I I hate to travel, and I know I don't. I mean, I should, and I feel so embarrassed when people say, "Oh, what are you doing for the summer vacation?" I want to stay home. I really just like to be close to home. I haven't always been that way, but honestly, to some degree, it's been since COVID. Like I don't like to. I'm afraid to
Yeah.
leave my house. But I don't know. I just the airlines are a mess. Yeah,
Mhm.
no, I really like to stay home. So those were really some boring answers.
No, they're
They
not. I
were.
love I
They
love the
were.
fact
They
that
were
you like the
insightful.
silence. Yeah, I like the silence. Well, Sue, we are so thrilled and so honored that you came on our podcast. And we know that our listeners are going to want to follow you. Where can they follow you on social media and your website?
Yeah, so my website is my whole name, SueWilliamSilverman.com. And then I'm on Facebook, also Sue William Silverman, and on Instagram, it's Sue William Silverman. So those are the places where I kind of hang out.
Oh,
Thank you
well,
so much for being on our show.
Well,
yes,
thank you for having
absolutely.
me. No,
And
it's not so nice to meet you.
oh, it's so nice to meet
Yeah.
you. And everyone, you can find us on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, and on our website where we're going to include those amazing books. I
Mhm.
cannot wait to dive into those books. So
Mhm.
we'll have those links on there. And real quick, Donna, what can we expect from our next episode?
So, our next episode, we're talking about brainstorming. We're going to give you some idea generators and some methods.
Ah, that's going to be fun. And again, Sue, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to get to meet you and getting to know you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure meeting both of you as well.
Yeah, it's been delightful.
And until next time, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm Hope Gibbs.
And I'm Donna Norman Carbone. It's time for you to get to work.
We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks with another tip from your author friends.